environments is exactly the right way to describe environments in Daggerheart. But
we did it.
I know. Congratulations, everybody.
Good name.
But I don't think people fully realize how cool environments are because it's way too easy to be like, I'm in a sand location. I'm like, no, that's not what environments are. They're almost more like environments / situations.
Yeah.
And you've got some great bangers in here. I am obsessed with Loki. I had a very time court focused game for many years.
Amazing.
Yeah, to the point where I actually got to start talking directly in DMs to the creators of Loki because of the weird similarities between shows. We both came to inevitable conclusions, but it was great though. Like, hey, why are you writing the same thing we're writing before we're writing it? But you have a great one here. You have so many different environments, and they're
have a time court.
So iconic.
You do have a time court.
Yeah, let's talk about time court. So this is just a great, higher level hook for an adventure or a situation. And I love how interesting environments are in Daggerheart. Tell me about time court.
One of the things that people were always asking for is they wanted more adversaries, they wanted more environments, and they wanted more at higher levels as well. Especially.
Yeah.
And so
this is very end game level stuff.
Yes.
When you're dealing, you've had so many shenanigans, you have to go to time court.
Yes. And so basically time court is the party has been arrested by the ultra powerful deities or faint divinities or whatever, whatever's in your setting that basically ensure the primary timeline.
Yeah.
Right? And you have, it's crimes against time, basically, and you have to answer for yourselves, I guess. So time court was in the initial master list that all of us made of let's just make like a list of like 200 adversaries that we want in here. Let's make a list of 50 environments that we want in here. And then we
beat them down.
Yeah. And I always knew that I wanted to do like time court type thing.
Yeah.
Because I felt that it made perfect sense for like, okay,
it's funny how that's just become its own genre. When you look at so many different shows, and like certainly Loki season 1 and 2 are a good example of time court, but this has existed in Star Trek. This has existed in so many films now.
Yeah.
The concept of time court and the weird corporate structure around time often comes up. Well, down to the Norns and fate and Norse mythology.
Yeah. Right. I think for me, like the initial like inspiration for it is like I'm a huge X-Men fan.
Yeah.
And the X-Men have been around for so long, and they have twisted their timeline in so many knots that it's just like it's always in the background of like any good X-Men story. And I'm also a big Star Trek fan. It's a big part of Star Trek on a more episodic kind of scale. And so I knew that I wanted some sort of time court thing. And then it became like, how do you turn that into an environment?
How does it actually then mechanically work, right?
In Daggerheart. And so I'm a lawyer by training, and so I knew that it couldn't be like, you're not going to learn, and it's not going to be like a real thing.
You're particularly adept to figure out what you could keep from what Real Court offers and what you had to throw away.
Real Court is boring.
Right. Real Court is so boring.
Real Court is boring. So it's like, how do you make it like a fantasy version of that, or a fantasy or sci-fi version of that, right? And it's like, what are the things? And also, there's like a certain level of complexity budget with an environment, right? You don't want the environment to be like a full page of 18 different features that the GM has to juggle. So like, what are the main things here?
Yeah. And I think also with environments, one of the key things is always to be conscious of how many passive things are going on versus how many things am I choosing as the GM to use as a GM move. So like actions, having more actions on an environment is a lot easier typically to manage than having a bunch of passives or reactions, because those you have to track.
Yeah.
And so I think it just becomes like a balance of how do we make it feel like it's doing justice to the concept and also not overwhelm the player or the GM.
Because there's a ticking clock on time court.
Yeah, of course.
Or any court, really.
Yeah.
And there is a prosecution and there's a defense and a judgment must be served. It's also a great member berries moment for the campaign.
Yep.
What a great way, maybe not the end of the campaign, but like hey, let's remember the campaign so far before the end comes.
I feel like, okay, so if you get Hope and Fear and you want to run Time Court, the best place to run it, the best time in the campaign to run it, is right before you get to like what would be in a TV show, like the 3-part finale.
Final arc, yes.
Right? Because it's supposed to be a place for all the viewers at home to like check in and and like the prosecution lays out, here's exactly all the stuff that you messed up.
Yeah. Like, remember when you did this? Oh yeah, we stole that stuff.
Whatever happened to that guy? Yeah. It just disappeared.
I mean, you could throw your players for a loop and do Time Court right away. For all the sins that you will commit.
It would be super awesome for them to at tier 1 to be in Time Court
for
and
future
find out
crimes.
all the stuff about their tier 4 version, their variants. That would be okay.
I mean, there's no reason to ship tier 1 people into tier 4 just to scare them a little bit at the beginning of the campaign.
Tier 1 Time Court when.
That sounds awesome. Actually, I think I might do that now.
That's awesome.
That sounds great.
There are other scenarios. There's like an environment that is a pirate attack, which I love, and that's another thing. Like, this is what I love about environments so much, and they're so varied, and there's so iconic moments to capture.
Yeah, I think really trying to capture not only like a place that has a specific story going on, but also an event, and having both of those be okay. Like, you could put the pirate attack, in many different locations. Yeah, and they're designed to take and use as you want. So like if you decide that you want to do a pirate attack in a classic place, the environment, like a ship that you're on, it's very easy to bring that in. But because of the modular nature of environments and, adversaries to some extent also function this way, it's like, okay, take that as it is and then think about what kind of fun you could have incorporating that into your campaign in whatever location they're currently in, right? Like, there's, all of the assassin or the, like, thief adversaries, but, like, you're supposed to flavor those for wherever you are and whatever bad guys are actually chasing your players. And the same thing are true with environments. You're supposed to take it and use it in whatever way it makes sense for the campaign that you're running.
Well, so, in some ways, they're almost like a little mini campaign frame.
Yeah.
They really are.
A campaign frame often, doesn't always, but often introduces supplemental mechanics, right? And you can just take those and use them however you want.
Yeah.
And it's all stuff that you can do at home, but like we've kind of designed it for you, so we've like worked out some of the kinks.
Yeah.
There's the same thing happening with environments, just in miniature, where it's like these are kind of in a way like optional mechanics. Or supplemental mechanics that you can use in any scene. Really. So like in the same way you can pilfer even just individual features, not just like reskinning.
But pulling features.
Not just reskinning an adversary, but like taking a breath weapon from a dragon adversary and use it on any adversary. You can do the same thing with environments.
There are some games that mechanize every bit of the game, and so you have to memorize mechanics for all the different kinds of things that you can do in the game. So if you're like climbing a mountain, there's like mechanics for climbing a mountain and what happens if you fall off and how like and those are all in the core rules. And I think that one of the things we really wanted to do with the core game was say like, hey, rulings over rules, don't worry about all the minutia. But if we as players, as a table, suddenly care a lot about this scene on this mountain, and mechanically it's interesting for us to understand how the dice rolling and the GM moves interact with this particular scene that's going on, we can zoom down and add mechanics to that scene that are specific to that without getting bogged down in like the entire rule book having
it's all there
things for that.
And it feels, I mean, it's more than just adventure hooks, because they do feel like almost like individual one-shot adventures to a degree, but like you said, everything you need is there.
And the other thing that allows us to do is we can make different rules for different tiers as well. And they don't have to necessarily work completely 100% with the other ones. We can simplify in that way, right? In the same way, like we don't have like a poison condition in the book, but different adversaries can poison you. And we describe how poison works within that adversary's stat block for that adversary. but it doesn't necessarily have to work perfectly with the way that like another effect from a different adversary works, right? Same thing with environments. Like we can dial in exactly like what's going to be the most dramatic or narratively satisfying way to have like fall damage for a certain environment, right? Or environmental damage for a certain environment, but it doesn't have to be consistent from scene to scene because you're playing within that environment. It's almost like a little mini game that you're getting access to that doesn't have to survive outside of that context.
And you're trying. I mean, it's so much more difficult to take maybe some of these like, which are almost like governing of physics rules broadly and trying to shove it into your adventure and make it work narratively, whereas you get the option to actually make the physics of this game make sense in that one shot.
Daggerheart is not trying to simulate reality. Right? It is a narrative.
It's a really dangerous trope thing to get into.
Exactly. And the thing is like when we talk about like narrative first with Daggerheart, I think of that not just as like, oh, the story is the most important thing. I also think of that in terms of like what we are, because whenever you're making mechanics, you are simulating something. In some way, you're like simulating something. In this case, we are trying to simulate heroic fantasy adventures. And so the rules of the way that the world works is a reflection of the way that we think heroic adventure fantasy stories work.
The GM moves inside of those, the actions and inside of the environments are GM moves that you should be making because that environment is present. So we're basically giving you like rocks fall, right? In a climbing environment. So it's like, okay, now they have to make an instinct reaction roll or an agility reaction roll to be able to get out of the way of the rocks that are falling towards them. If they don't, they take damage. Okay, that's a GM move you could just make.
Right.
In the narrative, as a GM, you could call for that. But the stat block is saying, hey, our attention as a table is here. And so GM, here's some guidance on like what you can do. What are some easy things that you can lace in, and what in specific, for me, it's about like what interesting, dramatic scenes are there in this place? And how do we mechanize it so that the GM and the table as a whole are pushed towards that drama, because that's what makes good story.
They focus on those turns.
Exactly.
Like one of the environments in Hope and Fear is Beach Day, which is essentially just like a shonen anime like Beach Day episode, right? And that one was like really fun to write because you just like make a list of like, well, what are the what makes it a Beach Day episode? Like one of these filler episodes that are like kind of in between like the heavy adventures, like what happens in those? So it's like lighthearted, but how do you import that tone and that structure into a TTRPG adventure, that's running on the Daggerheart rules?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like a shopping spree environment.
There's there's the scene where it's like somebody needs a makeover or something like that.
Makeover
they come out
environment.
And like, no, don't like that hat. No, don't like that outfit. That's the one. That's
you have like classic environments like the Duel is a very classic thing. You can shove that into anything. You've got the creepy graveyard environment where that the creepy mist and grossness, like people start getting resurrected and become a problem.
Right.
You've honed in on so many scenarios that you typically see in like novels or short stories or film and television, and you found those environments and those kind of like mini games that you can give to everybody. I feel like anyone could pick up one of those and just run.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also about giving GMs an easy way to run the scenes that they see in their head.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I find I have the scenario of what the players are probably going to run into in this place.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to resolve it necessarily. I have a couple of ways that they could go. But I have iconic moments like the hand coming out of the ground in the graveyard and grabbing the legs as they're running by. And like, if we didn't have environments, I could make that move as a GM and I would describe it narratively. And I think that's how a lot of narrative forward games tend to do that, right? You just make the GM move and the hands pop out. But in a game where you have rolling to hit and you have damage, unlike those more story-focused games, Now all of a sudden, okay, well, how do I know if I've hit that thing? Again, we can always go back to rulings over rules. We can always go back to the GM, makes it up on the fly. But also, we can mechanize this so that the GM doesn't have to do that. And so if we have these iconic moments that are happening in these scenes, in these situations, and we give the GM some guidance on what to do there, even if it's just like, hey, this part's going to be fully narrative, and this part is going to have some crunch. We're deciding for them where, like, we're giving them the tools to bring to the table so that they don't have the mental load of just having to run it all on their own, which sometimes in more narrative forward stuff can be intimidating, especially for players coming from things where there are mechanics for everything. They're like, wait, what do I do here? How do I run this?
We're also, I think we're also able to sort of subtly steer people away from mistakes that we've made as well running games.
Yeah.
Where it's like with the duel, for instance, you brought up the duel. It's like one of the pitfalls of running a scene like that is like, okay, well now the spotlight is on the person dueling and whoever their adversary is, right? So are we just taking the spotlight away from the rest of the party for like an hour while this fight happens? And so one of the things we can do with a duel as an environment is we can remind you to like, hey, remember to like talk about what the other players are doing. Here's some features that can help you bring them into the action so that we're not just following one player to the detriment of everybody else at the table, right?
Do you have a series of, because it's hard for me to describe how many different environments there are in Daggerheart and how varied. And I cannot stress, you are getting like so many different little adventure hooks that are mechanically, they're not like just vibes, right? They're not just like a paragraph saying, hey, what about this? Like, again, you mechanically supporting all of this, but like you have the alchemy lab where like, hey, you like Frankenstein? Here's your Frankenstein scenario. Like, Frankenstein is going to happen. Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, don't correct me in the comments. No one's read this book probably more than me. Both versions. But like, it's great that you have all those things. Right. Like, what are some of your favorites? Because we mentioned Beach Day, we mentioned Time Court, which I'm a big fan of. Alchemy Lab, Pirate Attack.
I gotta say Dungeon Delve.
The Dungeon
Delve is a classic.
I'm happy with that because that is like, talk about like just a session that you can pick up and run.
Yeah,
it's so good.
That's a dungeon in a box.
Yeah,
right. It's just like you could. I could pick up and play and run that one like any day of the week.
Yeah, and you know what you're getting. It's a Dungeon Delve.
Yeah, you know what you're getting, but we've had people comment like, well, how do I do a Dungeon Delve? People are just going down for treasure in Daggerheart, right? Yeah. Where it's very character driven and everything. Like, okay, well here's what you do. Like here are the features that sort of help you run that in a Daggerheart way, and then we also get to sort of slyly include like there's essentially a roll table in Dungeon Delve without it just being like GM guidance that includes a roll table.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a deadly dungeon.
Deadly dungeon.
Deadly dungeon. I really like the heist one.
Yeah, heist is another classic.
Awesome.
It's so fun.
And that's one of the longer ones. I mean,
it's one of the longer ones.
I think that one pretty much bumps up against.
That's probably the longest.
Our maximum of what we would allow ourselves to put in a book.
Yeah.
But
I
think it is. It's a heist in a box.
I mean, it feels like for me, you could run heist as you could run heist for
that's 3 sessions,
right?
Like it's a 3-session Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Or Ocean's 11 type thing.
And one of the other longer ones is Local Festival, but it's specifically because it's like there's a bunch of fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so
and to go to your point about like we only have 2 passes. Like Local Festival is one of the longer ones, but there's only 2 passes. The other features are actions. And to like go back to like kind of the user experience, because I mean I'm a forever GM. You're pretty much a forever GM. The experience of the GM at the table running these environments is like passives have to kind of run in your background software in your head. Reactions are a little bit easier because you just have to remember the trigger.
Yeah.
And then when the trigger hits, then you can read what happens. But actions are like a menu that like when the spotlight swings back to you, or when you have like a lot of fear in your hand and you're like trying to figure out what you're going to spend it on, like you look at the menu of actions that you have. So there's a little bit of like some subtle design work that we really focused on in there of like, okay, we have this really cool idea that's like really necessary for this environment to sing. Like this thing has to be in there.
Yeah.
Right now it's built as a passive because that makes the most sense logically. But is there a way to make this a reaction or even an action so that we take off a little bit of that like load from the GM's head?
I even think something like Hold the Line has 3 passives, but those passives are things like all adversaries gain the Relentless 2 feature. You just add that, right? So now all of a sudden, okay, that passive exists, but it doesn't exist in my head. It exists because I'm changing the stat blocks of all of the adversaries here. But yeah, I think there's so many fun ones in here. I mean, I'm just like...
You can just like read off some.
God, Corrupted Swamp, Grand Feast, Cursed Graveyard.
And a good mix of like the different types of environments.
Yeah.
Oh, Masquerade Ball.
Yeah, Masquerade Ball.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, we really tried to make sure that there was a wide variety of tiers, because that's one of the things that people were asking for, and also a wide variety of different environment types. So we do have a lot, because, you know, I think like traversal is like fairly easy. I really like Vast Desert is a traversal we have in here that I'm really happy with.
Really fun.
But like I think traversals are a little bit easier to like write and to run, even like just off the cuff, whereas socials tend to be pretty tricky. A lot of this is like a safety blanket for the GM.
It absolutely is,
Like complimentary.
Yeah.
But like explorations and traversals are a little bit easier to just go and run. Whereas events and socials, I think people wanted more guidance on like, what does that look like?
I feel like traversals are easier for me as a GM to build, even on the fly, and be like, okay, here's like 4 things that'll happen here.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you get to like social and events, it's like, okay, I really have to think through how everything's gonna work together. I really like the Witch's Hut as well.
Yeah.
The Witch's Hut is really fun. Just having a passive that's bigger on the inside is so fun.
Yeah.
You get a... Oh yeah,
It's very much the Baba Yaga's hut.
Yes, for sure.
And then you've got literally like the underworld.
Yeah.
Like it's
The
Realm of the Dead.
Yeah. And you have like
Which, I mean, well...
you have a central hub that leads to the entire multiverse as well. So
yeah, there are certain environments where it's like no points for figuring out what this is actually supposed to be. Realm of the Dead is definitely one of those.
That leads a little bit into the adversaries as well. But like, what's great about these are such great tropes that do exist in multiple different types of genres and books and narratives, and some may seem more familiar and some may seem less, but they're tools for the toolbox. That you can grab onto like immediately. Like, oh, that's the adventure I'm going to run to.
One of the benefits that gives us is that if somebody's coming to Daggerheart from other RPGs, then, you know, like we don't stat up like a goblin as an adversary, because a goblin is a type of person in Daggerheart.
Yeah.
So we don't have like that kind of trope or archetype in here. So one of the things that I do when I'm trying to GM a new game is I'm looking at the things that I expect to be there, and I'm sort of benchmarking them in my head compared to other games that I've run in the past, right? So one of the first things we did when we sat down and started brainstorming for Hope and Fear was like, okay, what would I expect to like open core and find but isn't there because page count or weight or whatever it was. So like what is something that's like missing? Like that's why you get an alchemist laboratory and a witch's hut, because like those are 2 different tropes, but they're like such vital tropes, right? That that's what we want to put in there.
Doing an extension basically of core to say like, do you like core? Here's a little more.
Yeah.
was the key for us, because we had so many, you know, you never know how, when you release things, how people are going to respond. And so we were very lucky that the first book did really well, and that allowed us to make a second book where we just continue to like expand on that. And I think in the future, you know, we'll be looking at other areas for the game to expand to, but it's not like, this is in particular an expansion of the core rulebook, and that won't always be the case.
Yeah. We didn't talk about adversaries. There are already a ton in the core books. There are a ton in here as well.
Yeah.
but there are some absolute bangers. Like there's a vampire lord that's very bat forward.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it. There's a biblically accurate D4. We've got the what is it? Not the castle killer. It's the
Zero.
Yeah,
castle killer.
Zero is like your big chunky Godzilla-like boy who's going to destroy the
Kaiju.
entire world.
Well,
A little
going
bit
to
of kaiju.
benchmarking, like that's one of the things we wanted to do is like if I look at Zero, and I'm like, okay, this is a kaiju.
Yeah.
Right? This is how a kaiju is built in Daggerheart.
Yeah.
That benchmarks me as a GM of like what other creatures I might think of or that might interact with the players, where they should be benchmarked, what kind of things they should be able to do, what kind of damage they should do, what their damage threshold should do. With the vampire lord, like we had vampires in core, but there was no like, okay, this is straight up Dracula.
Yeah.
This is straight up Dracula from like Bram Stoker's Dracula or from Castlevania or whatever. Like this is like the Dracula, right?
Yeah.
But having that in Hope and Fear helps GMs key into certain expectations from other things, and it also helps us like explain to the GM sort of implicitly how some other creatures might work in there, like creatures that aren't based off of something that somebody might be familiar with.
Right. Well, and I think that something like Zero is really interesting to me because we have Colossus mechanics in core that teach you how to run huge things. Specifically, you're designed to climb on them and fight them, and I think that that's not always the fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can have kaiju and the point is not to do that.
Yeah.
So then how do we fight, depending on what the genre is that you're playing in, your adversary actually looks different, right? And recognizing and pointing out, like, kaiju can exist in multiple different ways, depending on what the focus of your story is. And so it's a really nice way to be able to show people the range of how you can run adversaries, even similar adversaries in different ways.
Yeah. And don't worry, there are sandworms in this too.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
We couldn't go without.
Sandworms.
Yeah, sandworms. Yeah.
Sandworms. There's creatures that can look like other things. I would like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's some interesting art. Why is that so important to have? And also, what the fuck with the pillow? That's not cool, man.
Yeah. Some creatures
You've unleashed something I hate.
Yeah.
I didn't know I hate, because like I always think outhouse.
Well,
Rug is also really kind of upsetting.
Rug is upsetting.
But pillow,
in a
I just want to relax, and I have to worry about.
Yeah, there he is.
So the ravenous mockeries are things that look like other things and try to trick you into getting close to them so they can eat you. Because they're ravenous and they are mockeries of things.
Yeah.
And so going back to what I was saying before about like benchmarking against things that people might know from pop culture.
Yeah, and that's by the way, that trope of things that are mimicking other creatures. That's in tons of video games.
Yeah. Or Deathbed, the bed that eats people. Like, you know, it's
you know, I think, and I don't know if anybody will get to see the art.
We're not doing shoes though, because I have done shoes and I've had players quit a game.
You know, I think I don't know if you'll be able to see the art by the time this comes out, but when you do see the art, the table is really disconcerting for me in a unique way. And also the candle that has an eye.
Yeah. I don't feel like the candle's getting a lot of business though.
No, the candle, but
Pillow's taken a few people.
The pillow has taken.
Pillow's taken probably the most people.
For sure. No, is there anything? I mean, what is there one in here that was in particular your favorite?
I mean, if the rug is like inset and like the rest of the rug has a body under the floor, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
Well, I think some of my favorite ones in there are sort of where we have taken the tropes and we've made them Daggerheart.
Yeah.
Right? So
again, the biblically accurate D4.
Yeah, like the biblically accurate D4. The Rougarou.
Oh yeah, the Rougarou is really cool.
Because we have the werewolf transformation.
Yeah.
Which
I love.
In Hope and Fear. So it felt weird to have a werewolf be an adversary. You wouldn't, but that's like such a common trope in fantasy. So how do we do that? Well, let's put a spin on it.
Yeah.
Let's use, I'm Cajun and I grew up with like Rougarou as like that's the boogeyman for me. So like, can I put Rougarou? I mean, that might have been like if not the first, one of the first
adversaries. It's one of the first adversaries you brought in.
That I pitched. Yeah.
The other one that we pitched, I can't remember if it was one of the first, but I remember us talking about it was the rabble mob.
Oh yeah, those are great. Those are.
Oh my god.
We're just like, okay, they're
just mouths with legs.
Mouths with legs.
That's. I mean, critters. I grew up with critters, gremlins.
Oh yeah.
That's what I love about that stat block is like that. How often is it just teeth coming at you?
Yeah, and yeah, between
just a little guy with teeth.
Yeah, between
a lot of them.
the rabble mob, the gremling
warband,
gremling warband, and the red caps.
Red caps are amazing.
That gives you the like dangerous little freaks.
I'm gonna make you into a hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah, that gives you like the dangerous little freaks genre of adversary.
Dangerous little freaks.
Yeah, dangerous.
That's
little
a
freaks.
book title.
but you know, it was sort of conspicuously absent from Daggerheart.
Yeah, it was.
So it's because we didn't want to do the like goblin or whatever. That's pretty whack. So it's just like it's how do we take that same idea of like the Wayne Scott monsters and like put them into Daggerheart, right?
Yeah.
I mean the foul bear.
The foul bear.
Everybody's seen the foul bear though, but just
Gargoyle is also really cool. I really like that we got one in.
I'm very proud of the name Gobstalker.
Gobstalker
is amazing. For those that like aberrations that can shoot rays at people.
Yeah.
The land sharks were something that were in one of the very first playtests of Daggerheart.
Yeah.
A long time ago, but never made it into the book, never made it into core. But I had printed I have a resin 3D printer, and so I printed out land sharks, and they've lived in my case of minis for years now. And I was like, why are these not in the game? They're literally like one of the first minis I used for this. So we got them in this book. So I'm very excited about that.
Also, a big shout out to Carlos because he
did Carlos work on this?
Yeah, Carlos Cisco worked on a lot of these. He worked on a lot of the adversaries, and so there's a lot of adversaries in here that are inspired by sort of Mesoamerican mythology.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
right. Yeah.
And so I love that also gives Hope and Fear like a little bit of a different focus than like just standard Western European fantasy.
A lot of mythologies across the world as inspiration in it.
Yeah.
For certain.
And lots of horror movies, and nobody gets any points for figuring out.
Yeah, there's a few. We know who you are. You're really into pain and suffering.
I love these guys. The four harbingers.
Oh yeah, the harbingers are amazing.
So cool.
I love the art of those.
And again, like, how do you take? Because like the four horsemen of the apocalypse is like, it's such a trope that it's kind of been overdone. But so how do we take that, freshen it up, make it a little bit more Daggerheart?
Yeah.
And also like we talk about this all the time about like do you have champagne in your game? In your game?
Yes, the champagne problems.
Does France exist? Right?
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, four horsemen of the apocalypse. Does that mean the Book of Revelation like exists in this
here?
Okay, we'll make them harbingers, but then that gives us a little bit of freedom to kind of like go a little bit afield of what your expectations might be.
Yeah, totally.
And we're not just like simulating how they would work in other games.
I was describing a dog in some writing I was doing today for Daggerheart, and I wrote Australian Shepherd, and I was like,
yeah.
Does that imply the existence of Australia?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not anachronistic, but what's another word for that?
Yeah, it's like
there needs to be a better word.
Geonistic.
I believe they're geographic eponyms.
Whoa! Whipping out the words.
Yeah, geographic eponym.
Whatever he said.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down.
Somebody's probably going to correct me. Maybe that's not
sure,
right.
I'm
But
sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
It's over 100 adversaries, which are, again, great adventure hooks.
Yeah.
I so often start with a monster, and that's how I got into tabletop games in the first place, was just looking through monsters.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about stuff like this is like, even though I wasn't running Daggerheart, I just read monster stat blocks and look at monster art as just daydream material.
I could just write adversaries. Like if I could choose one thing to do.
That's your new job. I heard they said that you're just on adversaries.
I'm just on adversaries forever.
That's all you do.
I'm fine with that. That makes me happier.
Five-headed goose.
What's that?
Five-headed goose.
Five-headed goose.
Five-headed goose. Give them more heads.
I really love taking like 2 or 3 adversaries and like picking 2 or 3 adversaries and then
forming a relationship,
putting them together, and then figuring out why,
yeah,
and then that forming the. Even if I don't end up using them in the same location, figuring out why these 3 adversaries are now part of...
What connects them?
Vampire riding a Fowlbear.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, what... like
That's an adventure hook right there.
But our brains are really good at creating connections between things.
Yeah.
And so when you juxtapose 2 or more things together, you can start to like create...
A story has to happen. It's 2 magnets with a bunch of metal shavings between the 2.
And especially,
going to connect.
Especially if you're getting players who are giving you stuff during session 0 too, then you have all of their stuff to compare as well, and now all of a sudden you can build it out of all of those pieces.
I'm not pushing the vampire riding a Fowlbear narrative, but like you have to know when you see that, right? Like I wouldn't do it, but like if you see this monster with this monster, this adversary with this adversary, I have to understand.
Okay, the
weirder it gets, the more I need to know about you.
Okay, so here's my pitch. The Fowlbear has teeth on its tongue.
Oh, no.
Right.
That's the connection to vampires.
That's the connection to vampires.
So, can he stick his tongue out and, like, the vampire that's riding him can feed on you?
Yes.
If the Fowlbear's teeth pierce your flesh?
Good. We have an Elise off camera who's just thumbs downing
thumbs down.
all of this. Rowan's giving the middle finger.
The last thing I want to highlight that I actually really like about these is we have like the red caps.
Red caps are
We
amazing.
have the dark weaves, which are like a bunch of different spiders.
Yeah, spiders.
Yeah.
We have the
hate
entombed, like which are all centered around the entombed empress.
Yeah.
And what those all are like a collection of like 5 or 6 adversaries of different types that are like obviously made to be used together. And so that's another way that we've sort of been able to subtly nudge the GM of like, hey, if you want to make like a really interesting combat, you can use these adversaries together and something can come out of that.
Yeah.
There'll be like some interesting decisions for the players, and some interesting synergies for the GM.
Yeah.
We really wanted to like put some of those in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive amount of adversaries.
Yeah.
Like, so if you like undead, demonic creatures, people who really like pain, aberrations who are going to make you break your mind, or aberrations that are going to make you laugh and hit you with rays. Grimling Warband is always a popular one. We all judge our personality types based off those 4
Yes, we do.
our 4 little guys.
4 little guys.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing toolbox. Thank you so much for talking about environments at such length. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So excited.
Toolbox is the right word for it.
Toolbox.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Little mini toolboxes.